What is up, everybody? Welcome to the World Cup preview video here on Touchline Talk. Before I jump in, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss my recap from the game once it goes final and all of the other video content I will be putting out every single week moving forward. France, Argentina, Messi, most informed team in the world heading into this tournament, Kylian Mbappe, defending champions. It doesn't get much better than this. So I'm going to sort of run through this matchup from a bunch of different angles and then, of course, ultimately give my prediction, because what is a preview if there's not a prediction attached at the end? First, what is actually kind of at stake, some of the historical ramifications of this game? You can find more of these on the extensive written preview that will be on my Substack, touchlinetalk.substack.com, but I want to run through some of them here. A couple things specific to Messi. If he plays at least 24 minutes in this game, he will not only break the all-time Men's World Cup appearance record, he will also have the record for the most minutes played in Men's World Cups. Obviously, unless something goes horribly wrong, Messi's going to play 24 minutes in this game, so there is a very good chance he is going to leave this game, win or loss, as the most experienced player in Men's World Cup history from both an appearance and minutes played standpoint. A couple other things. France would become the first repeat Men's World Cup champion since Brazil in 1958 and 1962. So we're talking, 50 years over, math is hard, 60 years since, 50 to 60 years since this has happened. And then whoever wins, doesn't matter who, is going to become the fourth country to have a third Men's World Cup title. Germany's got 4, Italy's got 4, Brazil's got 5. But you've got this set of teams at 2, which includes both France and Argentina. So we're going to get a fourth team, fourth nation, to win the Men's World Cup 3 different times. In terms of key stats and sort of things I find interesting about this game, the first thing I want to mention is you've got 4 guys who are still in contention for the Golden Boot. Julian Alvarez has 4 goals, Olivier Giroud has 4 goals, Mbappe's got 5, Messi's got 5. They're the only players in the tournament with more than 3. So any of these guys, if Alvarez gets a brace and Argentina wins 2-0, if the same thing happens to Giroud, they're going to end with 6 and they're going to pass Mbappe and Messi. So it's going to be an interesting kind of side story to this game is you've got 4 guys all within a goal of each other, all theoretically playing key roles in this game. In terms of kind of the actual numbers behind this, there are 2 things I want to point out. One stylistically, one I just found interesting. France, through this tournament, 3rd in shot creating actions per 90 minutes, 4th in goal creating actions per 90 minutes. On the flip side, Argentina is allowing the 2nd fewest shot creating actions per 90 minutes and the 4th fewest goal creating actions per 90 minutes. So what you have is one of the most effective and efficient attacks in this tournament going up against one of the best defenses. And I'm going to get to this a little bit more when I start talking about big questions and how both of these teams win this game. But this is the stylistic, tactical battle I am looking at. Is you have an Argentinian team that has done such a good job keeping opponents out of dangerous areas, aside from the couple times they sort of fell apart after getting 2 goal leads. But by and large, they've done an excellent job defensively. And you have a French team that is obviously loaded with all this talent and has 2 guys scoring goals at a really high level. Antoine Griezmann has maybe been the best player in the tournament. And so Argentina is kind of set up to do something similar to what England did. The question is whether they can actually pull it off. And I'll get more into that later. But that is something I wanted to highlight in terms of one team is creating a lot of chances. The other team is doing a great job preventing the other team from having chances. The second thing, Football Reference has attributed a total of 1 error leading to a shot between these 2 teams throughout the tournament. To put that in perspective, there are 3 teams that participate in this tournament who left averaging a shot leading to, or an error leading to a shot from an opponent per game. Argentina and France have 1 combined. Now, Does that paint an entire picture of France's defensive struggles? No, of course not. They haven't been particularly great at times defensively in this tournament. But in terms of huge mistakes, these teams have done a good job avoiding it. And so I wanted to point that out as well. There's just a stat as I was looking I found very interesting. Now on to the big question. And this is where I will get into more of kind of what I was just talking about with Argentina's defensive setup. The big question for me is very simple, and it's one I've been talking about with France throughout the knockout stage. Can Argentina keep France out of transition? England gave everyone a blueprint as to how to slow down Mbappe, how to slow down this French attack. And while Morocco played incredibly well, did a lot of really good things defensively, and France did not play particularly well, you still saw them get so many opportunities on the counter because they scored that opening goal after Morocco made a single defensive mistake with Al-Yamik trying to, got out of position, trying to go win that ball, and he missed, and all of a sudden Griezmann's in and Hernandez is scoring. And that one moment changes everything because now you've got to commit numbers forward because you got to find a way to get a goal just to get to extra time. And then you saw, the ball getting up to Giroud, and Mbappe had some opportunities. It could have been 3-0 with those two chances Giroud had. So, first, even if Argentina goes down a goal in this game, if I'm in that dugout, I am not trying to change anything. I am not trying to overreact until we absolutely have to. I'm going to trust Messi. I'm going to trust my attacking players to believe that we can do this our way. We don't need to change even if we go down a goal. And really all this comes down to so how do you keep France out of transition? It's two things. One, and this is what England did so well, you've got to limit the space Mbappe has. And you do it two different ways, which is kind of part 1 and 2 of how you keep France out of transition. You got to get numbers around him. You got to double team him the way, right? You had Jude Bellingham coming over to help Kyle Walker all the time in that game. You got to do that. And then secondly, you have got to avoid turnovers when you're bringing numbers forward and in possession on France's side of the field. I talked about this after the Morocco game, that France wants space. And so you have got to be organized in the way that you move forward, and you cannot have those mistakes, kind of middle of the field or even in your attacking third, sort of the edge of the attacking third, a misplayed pass, it falls to Griezmann, it falls to Tchouaméni, Hernandez, whoever it might be, one of the center backs, and all of a sudden, Mbappe's headed the other way. If Argentina can control the ball and control the spaces where Mbappe gets it, control where France is getting the ball, and make sure they have numbers back every single time, that is going to be your key to success. My big question is whether they can actually do that. Because France have shown time and time again, all it takes is 1 or 2 opportunities. They don't need you to make 4 mistakes. You make 1, you make 2, that can decide the game. It's not can you mostly keep France out of transition. It is can you keep France out of transition for 90 minutes. Because doing it for 80 minutes, doing it most of the time, maybe it's good enough, but it very well might not be. Sort of continuing in that vein, the key matchup I'm looking at is very simply the right side of the Argentinian team versus the left side of the French team. You saw the defensive issues France had with the Mbappe, Theo Hernandez, Youssouf Fofana trio. Because Fofana is incredibly inexperienced at the international level, because Mbappe is not particularly interested in playing defense, and because Theo Hernandez is not exactly a defensive stalwart. I love Theo Hernandez. That's just not his strength. And in fairness to him, he's also being overwhelmed by, 5 guys that Morocco were putting on that side of the field, and he wasn't getting enough help. So from the Argentina side of this, you've got Nahuel Molina, who is not exactly Achraf Hakimi, but he also loves to bomb forward, join the attack. You've seen it time and time again. He kind of turns into a winger. And that is where he's at his best. So you're going to have the same kind of problems if you're France. Can you deal with it better? Whether that's Mbappe helping more, whether that's just a better organization on the left side of the defense and you're leaving Mbappe to counter. Because It's the same thing as Morocco, right? You had Ziyech on that side, you had Ashraf Hakimi on that side. This time, you got Messi, you got Rodrigo de Paul, and you got Molina. Same idea. Argentina can do the exact same thing. The flip side to that is, if you get Molina committed forward, can you force that turnover? Can you force the bad pass? Can you release Mbappe? Because there very well may be space. And this again goes back to my big question of, can Argentina move up the field intelligently and make sure they don't overcommit themselves? Because if they do, Mbappe is going the other way. And so ultimately where I think this game is going to be decided is at the end of it, are we talking about, Mbappe didn't do enough defensively, Argentina dominated their right side, the left side of the French defense? Or are we talking about Mbappe just got opportunity, they couldn't cope with him, he dominated his left side of the field? Morocco exposed this weakness in France and created plenty of opportunities because of it. Didn't score a goal, though. Do France get punished in this game if something similar happens? Because if they don't, they're probably going to win. And if they do, they're probably going to lose. On to our X Factor, and I kind of hinted at this in my recap for that France-Morocco game. My X Factor is Adrien Rabiot. It appears he's training, the report I'm seeing right as I'm recording this. Of course, there are now other health issues with this virus going through the French team, so we'll see what the lineup actually looks like. But you have plenty of capable center backs who, even if you lose one or two for the game, what you don't have is experience in those holding midfield positions behind Antoine Griezmann. And I said after that game, I think that there is a possibility whether Adrien Rabiot is healthy determines this game. And I still pretty much feel that way. Not necessarily because I'm the biggest Adrien Rabiot fan in the world, though I think he doesn't get the acknowledgement he deserves often and has been good in this tournament. But just because of what he means to this team because of the situation they find themselves in with all of these injuries in the midfield. There was just a huge drop-off when Rabiot was forced to not play in the semifinal. And so, do you get him back? Can he start? How many minutes can he give you? Can he give you a full 90? Can he give you 120 if the game goes that long? The answers to those questions, I really do think, could shift the balance of power ever so slightly, because this game is so evenly matched. Every little thing like that matters and could determine who ends up winning. Speaking of winning, okay, so let's do a little hypothetical here. Argentina win if, and to me this is pretty simple, they stay organized, like I've been talking about. All Argentina need to do is what they've been doing for the most part in this tournament. Controlling possession, being very calm on the ball, not forcing anything. They don't really hit people on the counter the way France does. They're sort of methodical, right? Messi is going to pick his spots, but they're not going to go press people like crazy. They just systematically figured out how to break people down. And they just kind of move forward with the ball, let Messi do his thing. When he sees those opportunities to get into space, that's when he starts running. They don't need to do anything differently. They need to do what they've been doing against a much better opponent. The Netherlands caused them some problems, and this is a much, much better team than the Netherlands. If they can execute this game plan again, because I do think it is set up to stop Mbappe, they're going to win this game. That is much, much easier said than done, though. On the flip side, France win if they have the best player on the field. Don't care who it is. Could be Mbappe, could be Griezmann, maybe it's Hugo Lloris. It doesn't really matter who. What I'm concerned about is, are we walking away from this game talking about how Messi was the star of the show, so much better than everybody else, and just carried his country to a World Cup title? Or are we talking about Mbappe being the player of this tournament and kind of dismissing a lot of the, or at least doing a lot to calm the criticism he's faced for the way everything's going at PSG and all the transfer rumors and all that, where we're just going, oh, Mbappe really is clearly the best player in the world, and look at how good he was in this tournament. Are we talking about Griezmann as the best player in the tournament? Because France don't need to have the best player on the field to win. I would argue pretty much every equation for Argentina winning this game involves Messi being spectacular, which he has been just about every single game in this tournament, so it's not like that's a big question mark. But if somebody is able to steal the spotlight for France, I find it hard to see a way in which they do not win. Like I just said, they don't need, it's not a requirement for them to win this game that they have the best player on the field. But if Messi isn't the best player on the field, you're looking at a bunch of other guys on France as kind of the next, theoretically, the next best player. Starting with Mbappe, Griezmann, you can go down the list. And so that's the luxury this incredibly deep French team has, is it's not all on Mbappe. But if Mbappe is the best player on the field, that tells me the counterattack is working. That tells me Argentina didn't limit the space the way they needed to. If Griezmann is the best player on the field, maybe they did a pretty good job limiting the space out wide, but that tells me that Messi didn't make the impact he needed to in all likelihood. And so that's where I'm kind of coming down on this, is if you're going to tell me we're going to decide collectively the best player on the field with somebody wearing a French jersey, I would feel very, very confident France ends up winning this game. And now, of course, the pick. I'm going with Argentina. And I'm going with Argentina because I kind of hinted at this earlier, but I really do like this matchup from a tactical standpoint. All the stuff Argentina has been doing to get to this point is the kind of stuff that bothers France and stops France from doing the things they do best and stops Mbappe from being at his very best. There's next to nothing between these two teams. It should be a phenomenal game. But if you're going to make me pick, I'm going to, with the health issues, both players returning and guys who may or may not be available with France, with the injuries with France, the way Messi is playing, and the way that this sets up, in my opinion, for Argentina. I just feel like all of those little things are kind of going Argentina's way right now. And so that is ultimately going to be my prediction. I've got Argentina, we'll say 2-1 in the end. That is all for this World Cup preview video. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'll see you next time.